Let's do Take That You Worm.
Are we recording now?
Got it right first try.
It's real?
Yeah, it's real.
Okay, we're actually doing it.
Joe is just hanging out, having his birthday celebration.
Yeah, boy.
Today, we are going to go over arcs 14.3 to probably 14, like all the interludes of 14 as well.
All right, we're gonna finish off arc 14, which
Yes.
is that's a good cutoff.
The climax of I was gonna say Space Station 13 arc. Wow, I've been spending too much time with you, honestly.
Slaughterhouse 9.
Slaughterhouse 9 arc.
Dude, that'd be a cool name for a group, though.
The
Space Station 13.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
I'd be down.
I'm gonna go through the summaries like before.
Yeah, I think we got some positive feedback on our new format.
Pretty much everyone that cared to comment said that they prefer it.
Yeah. So I think it's good. We're just going to summarize the chapters and pick out what we really like, which is good because I think it's really good to hit the best moments, because if we talked about everything I liked about all these chapters, I would never stop talking. So I think it's
Funny
good we're
you
going to
should
get
say
into
that. However, yeah, okay. We're going to jump into it.
We're just kind of pulling up notes.
14.3 is a confrontation with Amy Panacea. Just kind of talking to her, trying to get her to increase Taylor's powers.
Yeah, and that's where we get the relay bugs, right?
Yep.
Pretty cool.
You got 14.4, which is kind of the beginning of the fights, and that kind of extends all the way to 14.6.
Yeah.
Where there's the bombs that Pigo has in the city.
I think they were leftover Bakugo bombs.
Yeah, they're going to be dropped on the city. The groups meet up together to try to take care of the 9 and escape the city before the bombs are dropped. And that extends with, notably, 14.5 is in the middle of that fight. Yeah. And it's all about the moral implications of healing Gloria, even though she's getting half melted by acid actively. You got 14.7, which is a lot of Legend versus Siberian as Taylor tries to track down the true body of the enemy stand user.
Yeah.
You got 14.8, which is where the miasma hits. 14.9, where Taylor's hanging out with Gru and Tattletale. Wink.
Wink, wink. Winks at camera.
Winks at Bradley. Ooh. 14.10, where it's kind of just more of that dichotomy of her trying to figure it out. And finally, 14.11, which is the confrontation with Taylor, Jack, Bonesaw, Panacea, and whatever's left of Gloria at this moment. Then you got the 2 interludes, which we got a Sierra/Charlotte interlude, and then we got a Legend interlude.
Ooh, boy. I love that, man.
All right. I have a plot twist.
Plot twist.
We're not going to talk about what I liked about Arc 14. We're going to talk what did you like about Arc 14, Bradley?
Oh, man. So...
Because I didn't really like this arc very much.
Okay.
Until the interludes. And I don't want to be fully negative the whole time, so I want you to lead my hips, if you will.
Yeah, because I know that you didn't particularly like the way we wrapped up Slaughterhouse 9 arc. I loved it. And I don't know if I'm going to necessarily go chronologically as far as the things I liked.
Touch the big points.
I'm going to touch the moments I really, really liked. At probably my favorite character moment for Taylor at this point in the story comes with when she is with Jack and Bonesaw, and they try to get her to kill someone, which I think we're led to believe it's battery on the ground.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense in retrospect.
During the miasma. And I really love this moment because the way I view this is that in this moment, Jack loses and Taylor defeats him. And the reason I think that is, I'm going to talk about why the Slaughterhouse 9 are here. And in-world, they are here to recruit their 9th member. In the purpose of the story, they are here, in a sense, to change our characters, but more specifically, to find what limits or lines our characters have for themselves and try to get them to cross it.
Trying to break all the characters.
Trying to break them. And they are successful for some of these characters. I think most notably Panacea, or how the audiobook guy says Panacea.
It depends on the reader. I'd say same with Hook Wolf, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't really know what happened to Arms Master.
And this is even by Jack's own admission. He says that he loves doing this, and he actually admits to Skitter that I really thought I could break you. I thought I could get you to kill that girl. He was
like, I had a completely different read on you.
Yeah.
You're kind of fun.
And I really like this because at this point in the story, Taylor still has not killed someone. She has tried to kill members of the Nine, but we are fastly approaching this moment where I think we've been working our way up to eventually she is going to be killing someone.
I thought it was 100% going to be one of the Nine.
And I really like this because if there was ever a moment that there are circumstances in which Taylor would kill people, we know that. Like if they're the Nine, for example. If there was ever a moment in which Taylor could or would kill an innocent person, this would have been it.
Yeah. She
was with two people who she was convinced were her best friends, and one of these people that she is convinced has Tattletale's power was telling her, this person is a member of the Nine, and they are going to fuck us up. And Taylor cannot... Taylor will cross these moral boundaries that people wouldn't, but she will only do this if she has found a way to rationalize to herself that it is the right thing to do. And she got close, but she's like, this is what they're telling me. If she would have came to the decision to kill Battery on her own, she would have done it. But she didn't have that certainty she needed to kill this person. She's like, I'm not 100% sure they're a member of the Nine, so I'm not going to do it.
To be fair, I'd say there was another factor of that because she was never fully convinced, I don't think.
Yeah, she couldn't be fully
She was
convinced.
on edge the whole time, and this was a big hint, big red flag. So that might have played into the situation, just the overall unease of the situation.
Nevertheless, I think from a character perspective, this was Taylor winning Jack's game against her. And I think we hit on a little bit more on this kind of in the last chapter of the arc where when Taylor is actually reunited with Tattletale, they're pretty sure the Nine are like in this boat with Cherish and Tattletale, and this is the real Tattletale this time telling her like, I'm pretty sure the Nine are in that boat. And Taylor's like, they might be, but like if there's a 1% chance the people in there are actually decoys Bonesaw created, then I would have killed civilians. And you know what? They open it up, and it wasn't the Nine.
Well, damn.
I just, at this point in the story, this is probably my favorite development for Taylor's character. Or I think it's a big stride for her. I think if I had to pick like one other big, like, some big moments I really liked in this arc, they come...
Skipping the interludes, because I do have a lot to say about those, actually.
I think my favorite chapter in this arc is when they are at Arcadia High, and Taylor's kind of listening in on Jack trying to corrupt Panacea.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of beats in this conversation I like. I think one of them I like is pretty early on in her eavesdropping when Jack he tries a bunch of different methods to convince Panacea to do these things, and one of the first ones is he kind of tries to go from, I don't know if I'd say, I don't think I'd call it like a Darwinist perspective, but like kind of a naturalist, like in human history before civilized society, whenever just kind of like ancient people survived on at least what Jack is saying, they survived on brutality, their capacity for violence, their ability to fight, and he's saying because that is like the proto-human, because that is before philosophy, he's saying that is innate. People inherently are violent. And he poses a question to Panacea, how many of your ancestors were successful because they cut down their opponents? And Taylor, she doesn't vocalize it. She thinks it in her head, but without missing a beat, she says, how many were successful because they cooperated? And I think that is I think a really good rebuttal to Jack, and no one can say 100% which of them is the most accurate to reality, I think. But I think it's a really good I think it's just a really good juxtaposition of Jack and Taylor's mindsets. And I also like Taylor's response that how many are successful because they cooperated, because I don't think it's a coincidence that the person with the master power that can make hundreds of thousands of beings cooperate at once has this mindset. I don't think it's a coincidence that she is on the side of cooperation.
Yeah.
And we go further into Jack's conversation with Panacea. And she's kind of aware that he has a silver tongue, that she uses those words herself. And she... At this point, we know that Panacea knows, Jack knows, we know that her father was this villain named Marquis.
Marquis.
Okay, I want to talk about this for a second. Like 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. Put it on the clock.
It's fucking Marquis.
I always said Marquis. Audiobook pronunciation, which apparently approved by a while ago, is Marquis. I'm going to say Marquis. I'm giving the middle finger to the microphone.
Here's all I'm saying. The guy who made GIFs calls them GIFs, and he's wrong about it. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying.
Jack brings up Amy's father, Marquis, which we know is kind of a sore spot for her. And he says there's something really similar between the two of them that is also quite different. Both of them, throughout their lives, have put one extremely strict limitation on themselves. Yeah. For her father was that through all of his villainous antics, he will not allow women or children to come to harm. Her limitation is that she would not affect brains. But Jack says there's a big difference. He says some people thrive on giving themselves a code or a limitation, but he says people like Amy are destroyed by it. And I kind of agree with this. If I wanted to make a real life analogy, I think I would look at people who have strict exercise regimens, maybe, because it's easy to stick with a habit once you've made it, and once you've broken it, it becomes so much easier to never jump into it again. For example, I feel like if someone had a really good exercise routine, they stuck with that limitation for a really long time, if you want to call it a limitation, they stuck with that rule for a really long time, and they break it for the first time, it becomes that much easier to slip up because you're like, I've already messed it up, whether consciously or unconsciously. And I say this because this has happened to me before. And likewise, I think for Marquis' mindset, he has this moral code. He's not going to hurt women or children. And I think he thrives on that because no matter what he does, any other villainous act he does, if he does something he's disappointed in himself in, he can at least fall back on, I have this code, I have not broken it, I have not hurt a woman or a child, that is something I can be proud of. And Amy always had, I'm not going to break this limitation I have for affecting brains. And we saw that the first chapter she broke that limitation in her life.
It spiraled out of control immediately.
That exact same chapter, the worst thing that she wanted happened. So I think Jack is right that some people thrive on these limitations and some do not.
You're saying, we can kind of see into her head in those chapters where it eats away at her. And I guess the situation's also at play here. Maybe it's not just the limitation. Because there's also the situation about her stepdad, or adoptive father, rather, and how she could have saved him, but was afraid to, so there was always that pressure on her, but she would never pull the trigger. And I guess the stress of that when she did pull the trigger just turned out horrific. Quite horrific.
Yeah.
Um, that is a very good way to look at the conversation. I did take it, like, there's one line that Jack says where he says, "I'm used to dealing with dangerous people like you," and I don't think Amy even replies to that.
Yeah.
But I just think that's such a smooth line from him.
And the fact that she has no reply to it,
I mean, she agrees.
it's pretty damning.
And I would say at this point, she has shown herself to be dangerous.
She's kind of hit rock bottom, and I think she knows it, and she kind of accepts it because I think we know what choice she makes in the future.
Yeah. To clarify, I am a little bit further than this. We won't be talking about it for time's sake. It just so happens that we haven't recorded in a while, so I stocked up a little bit, but I haven't finished Arc 15.
So those are probably my biggest favorite things in Arc 14. There's like a few smaller things I'll talk about before we talk about the interludes.
Maybe we can loop back to them, because I'm going to voice why I didn't really like this. And it was kind of like, I feel like Wild Bow is a god at setup.
There you go.
I just don't think when the payout finally comes that it just doesn't always work for me.
Because you more wanted to see like all the tests, didn't you?
No, because here's the thing. I found myself really liking the idea of an all-out attack on the 9 with the villains,
there you go.
and then a double bombing run to kill both of them.
There you go.
I thought that was really cool. And I will say, I thought the fights were really boring leading up to it. I think Crawler is just not an engaging person to fight, and there was a lot of Crawler fight. There was a little bit of Mannequin kind of just like sneaking in and out, doing some sneak attacks.
The most engaging.
But we've seen a lot of them already.
The most engaging thing to Crawler about me is how he died, where they're just like, "Hey, Crawler, this is gonna kill you," and he's like, "All right, let's do it."
Put it up, do it, and it did.
Shit happens, bitch.
Shit happens, bitch. It's just something we've been saying a lot about Worm and specific.
It's applicable to just about every chapter in this story.
I can't wait till we say it about bitch. That'll be the pinnacle. Where it lost me was when the miasma hit.
Yeah.
The build up to the miasma was so tense. Them getting trapped on those buildings with nowhere to escape. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about like an identity switcheroo kind of climax for this story. The bombing climax. Here's how I would have liked it. And this is a personal thing.
Maybe swap the miasma and the bombing.
Maybe. Or don't do the miasma and have the bombing, like have the finale chapters be after the bombing. Everyone's kind of rocked. The 9 are trying to regroup, the ones that are alive, and leave. And you get kind of a confrontation between a half-dead, like, Taylor and maybe another ally, and Jack and Bonesaw. And you can get some philosophical debates. He's like, "You let us go," or something. Like, it doesn't have to be a full-out fight.
Yeah. Like, I personally am always going to fight for the miasma just because I love that Taylor moment. But I think like you said,
it's so weird.
Jack himself does say, we leave not with a bang, but with a whimper.
And it's an anticlimax that's also, like, it makes me question some things where it's like, when the miasma hit, no one died from it, as far as I've read.
I think,
everyone died from the bomb that died, which was Mannequin and Crawler. Rest in peace, Manny.
No one, I guess no one we see on screen dies from the miasma. I know Panacea...
Ballista dies from the spiders. Not Ballista. Battery. That's true as well. I feel like that would have been a chance for Siberian to just gank anyone.
Do the Omega Ganker.
Because she's still alive.
The Ganker sister.
They're still alive. Or for Jack to just, like, get your chest real quick and then just cut you up. It's just weird that, like, they just meet up with Taylor and they convince her to go find Panacea because they know she's the only one that can reverse the gas. So it's important that they find her. It was a weird selection. Also, when Cherish is like, haha, message received, wink. Why the fuck did you say that? What? Taylor understood you. Or, like, that's what helped her, like, finalize the realization. You didn't have to say anything. Jack had already listened to what you had to say. Coyle doesn't even know Latin.
Cherish, this is not the first in Cherish's shitty
Shit
decisions.
happens, bitch.
No, Cherish just made a lot of really bad
Well,
decisions.
she's in the bottom of the ocean now, and that means she's gonna get found later.
Shit happens.
Chekhov's Cherish coming through.
I like the Miasma as a climax, but I agree it might not be for everybody. It's not a violent climax. I view it more as like a character climax, but if I know like you're more invested into other characters than Taylor, so that might be part of it.
Yeah, that might be part of it. But here's the thing: there's also times where I'm like really happy for Taylor. Like, I still think my peak Taylor moment is her running to rescue her dad, and still also having
being
the time
able to save all these people.
So many more people than I feel like I could have saved.
And
with her same
God,
set.
I know we've talked about it, but her taking the time to save other people while saving her dad was so good because she consciously thinks back to that moment where Gru is like, in moments of crisis, we tend to prioritize the people closest to us. And when Taylor first heard that, she's like, that's bullshit. Like, you should try to save everybody. And then in this moment, she's consciously like, man, I kind of want to go save my dad more than anybody else.
But, I mean, even knowing that, she still did something great.
Yeah, she did.
Overall, I'm bummed there was little Arm Master this arc. I'm a fan of Colin. But Bradley assures me that I will get what I want in the future.
I like this boy. Interludes.
One more thing.
Oh, okay.
I want to do my ranking of the 9.
Like favorite members, top to bottom. I know who's going to be number 1.
Number 1 is Chad Slash.
How could you not love this man?
Number 2 is actually Mannequin, and here's why.
He's cool.
There was a lot of Mannequin. He has the best fight out of any of the 9 with the one-on-one versus Taylor was pretty good. I really like the way he moves and how he's just silent. I like his motivation of attacking other Tinkers.
I feel like any scene with Mannequin...
It's
like,
tense and cool.
Like, any scene with Mannequin, I can picture it
really well.
Being
actually.
in film, you know?
Yeah.
It feels cinematic to me.
And I don't usually like Tinkers that much, but like I just really like
that
Mannequin.
boy.
I put Shatterbird 3rd.
She's neat.
But I'm really disappointed. Here's why. I thought she was super interesting. I like her power, but nothing came of her yet.
I wonder what's
There's still a lot of room in the future for her.
I wonder what's going to happen to her.
I know a little bit of what happens to her. 4th is Siberian, especially when we learn more about him from the interludes.
I
felt like Siberian is like peak. Wow, my voice. Jesus Christ. Peak. Siberian, my voice is gone, by the way.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot.
We've been partying this weekend and talking. And I always yell in these situations. Siberian is like a epitome of like just tense, like just her being in the room. It terrifies me as a reader.
It puts something insane on the table because you know there's nothing you can do.
Then you got Bonesaw. She's a straight up loli. She's not a legal loli, which is shocking. That is a big plot twist.
Her immaturity is genuine, as Jack would say.
She has some funny moments. She has some annoying moments. The thing I like the least about her is that she's like a cockroach. Because of her, so many of them don't die in terrible situations because of her hacks, like tinkering skills. Cherish, pretty cool. Shit happens, bitch. Burn Scar barely did anything.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of her.
She got the most of that interlude, and even then, like, I still put her this low. And then Crawler lost me when Wildbow explained what Crawler looked like. And then
you don't like the big monster.
And then also said he was inside of a building, like just like a house or something. And I was like, how the fuck did he get in?
It's got to be high ceiling.
And he's got 10-foot wide chest and 100 eyes. I'm like, this sounds dumb.
You got to have high ceilings for that shit.
To be fair, I do like his kill me kink. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's into it.
All right, let's talk about the interludes.
Yes.
Surprisingly, I was immediately back in. I was like, you know what? This is why I love Worm.
You know what?
Because they got me back in there. The Charlotte interlude was surprising. It was more of a Sierra interlude. Was surprising because like these were characters that were just kind of there, and I wasn't sure what their role in the story was. But I just grew to like him a lot more, seeing things from their end, seeing how they're handling, helping.
how do people? It's like, how do people see Taylor?
That's the big plus of this. Like, you get a really cool look into how other people see Taylor.
Man, like, a big thing.
That bitch crazy.
A big thing with how people see Taylor is that, these people in her territory. I think whenever Sierra first met Taylor, she was extremely apprehensive because, Taylor was doing the whole thing where she's like, I'm a person, I like tea. Would you like some tea? But she also just like threatened someone with a knife shortly before. And what this makes me think of is like, imagine you're watching Breaking Bad, right?
Right. I always do.
We've seen like Gus Fring can be a maniac.
Right.
And even if he was being as polite as possible, if he offered Walt a cup of tea, I would immediately be like, he is going to flip his shit in a second. And I think that's a similar thing.
That's not true. He invites people over to dinner and he's like, come to Mexico with me.
I'm just always on edge no matter how nice Gus is being, I'm always on edge. And I think it's similar where Taylor really was being genuine, like offering tea, but from Sierra's perspective, she's like, what the fuck is this person gonna do to me?
But fuck those ABB guys, and Taylor handled them so well.
Asian bad boys.
It's trash, all trash. They should have rebranded by now.
They should have rebranded.
Just like on a narrative level, like Wild Bill's got to know that like I can't believe
the bad boys.
I can't believe I made this a name.
Bad boys.
But I really, 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 really want to talk about the Legend interlude because this shit was popping.
Like number one.
Legend what a good guy.
Legend is a breath of fresh air. He's just such a genuinely good guy. Like with Kid Win, he does everything he can to make Kid Win feel like proud of himself.
I loved that interaction. If you guys will recall from the very first Worm Talks we did, it was Arc 9. And I was like, man, I used to think Kid Win was the biggest loser. Then I was like, man, I kind of like the kid. And now I really like the kid because he's also really helpful.
He's doing his best and he's helping Legend, and we love Legend.
And, like, the way that the interaction goes and, like, Kid Win is not receptive of Legend's compliments, but eventually, like, they kind of, like, bond a little and Kid Win eases up to him. And he's working on something for him and we're wondering what, right?
And we're about to find out.
Cue over to him flying to the PRT headquarters. It was the headquarters.
Yeah.
To meet with the doctor, a lady in a suit, the number man.
The number man.
Eidolon, not Eidolon. It's Eidolon.
I also say
Middle
Eidolon.
finger to the mic.
Middle finger to the mic. I actually held my index finger on accident. Because I was holding
not Victoria, what's her name?
Alexandria, baby.
Which we find out a lot about her and Eidolon this time.
And man, I feel so bad for Legend after this conversation.
Another plus about Legend is that he's just casually like the strongest man, but he's just like a super open gay dad. Like he's just like, hey, wholesome. Can't wait to go hug my husband.
I know, he's so sweet.
He's a real sweetheart. He's very quickly climbed up to be one of my favorite characters.
Love this man.
Because he's a heroic character who is competent, but also not like, he doesn't have that arm master shittery, which I also like in its own way.
The shittery.
Okay. So there's a conversation that plays out with Cauldron, and it's fishy for the reader, right? Because we know Cauldron is sketchy.
They're kind of sketch.
But hey, Alexandria and Eidolon are on their side. Nothing. Right, yeah. I've trained myself to tell lies. Everything's cool. And Legend's like, all right, cool.
Wink, wink.
We don't test on human subjects and do weird shit. No. All right.
Winks at camera.
Winks at camera. Winks at mic. And then he goes to his room or whatever, like his office. He puts it into whatever Kid Win was working earlier on, which was a lie detector, like a rudimentary version of Arm Master's lie detector technology. Which big ups for Kid Win for being able to manipulate the code like that. That's a sweet boy as well. We find out every single line was a lie, including some of Legend. There's a line there that he says that's a lie, and it's a really interesting way. It was like, I guess I really didn't mean that. He kind of
self-reflects on himself, which the fact that he can self-reflect just makes me like him even more.
It's such a good narrative device to review information to the reader and Legend, but also have Legend self-reflect on himself.
Yeah.
So you can learn more about his character and how he thinks of himself. It was excellent. Every time lie popped up. and he pops up on also Alexandra and Eidolon, so we know some shit's going down. I'm going to say one thing though. There are like we counted the other day. There are 6 things in Worm that just through osmosis, I kind of know are about the story, and one of them was that Eidolon was like I saw his name popped up in a villainous context. So I think this kind of confirms that.
Yeah,
I don't know about Alexandria though. I feel like she would be more neutral.
Yeah, because it was like at some point in the past, like you had some like glances at the wiki or something.
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
So. I don't think it's gonna ruin the experience or anything.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would have thought like these two were sketch. The thing is, like Alexandria, she seems so sweet. Eidolon just seems kind of more quiet.
Yeah.
And they're about to go into his power, or like they kind of talk about his power a little bit. He can kind of predict the future.
I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast. I've said it to you multiple times, but for anyone out there, Worm is my favorite story on the planet. Whenever I initially started, I accidentally read the very last chapter first because my friend told me, hey, go on this website, read the story, it's really good. I was like, okay. The first thing on the front page was the last chapter, but I didn't see that it was the last chapter, so I read it. I was like, oh, that was really interesting. I wonder how we got here. And then I reread it for my friend.
You read the whole last chapter?
I read the whole last chapter.
That's super interesting.
My friend was mortified. He's like, go here instead. And I was like, oh. So, that being said...
Still loved it.
Because of that, I'm a person who's not scared of spoilers. But I know what other people are, so...
That's it for Arc 14.
Yeah.
But on the car ride, I drove a lot with Bradley this weekend. It was miserable. We listened to a lot of We Got Worm and also a couple of chapters. And it finally hit me that with the Theo interlude, Jack is like, I'll give you 2 years before I come back.
And can coincidentally...
2 years is when the world ends if Jack is alive. And then I'm like, oh shit, Theo has something to do with this. Maybe... Also, it made me realize, shit, I didn't think about it, but Theo's going to have to force himself to go through a trigger event to get a power so he can maybe fight Jack, and that power might destroy the world. Be a big part of it.
It's all coming together.
Man, that's some good shit. And here I am again, in the loop of just Wild Bo giving me the nicest love-making session, and then when it's real time for action, he kind of like walks out of the room, he's like, finish it off yourself.
Do it yourself. Tell me you want this.
I want this.
Nothing happens till I hear you say it.
Yeah, that's what we got for Worm. I got to watch Joe die live today.
Like our video for Dinah. Do it for Dinah.
Do it for Dinah.
Please like to save Joe.